As a service provider, I'm interested in knowing when we can have a synchronous on-island service, because a 1 meg upload is hardly positioning us as being the fastest anything in the world. So when are we going to see that fixed?
To answer that, I'd say, obviously you understand the structure of our build is a point-to-point network. So as I think Elliot explained, we run a single fibre to your premise, be that consumer or superior type broadband service. Really, again, I suppose Tim briefly mentioned it, we've taken our legacy products and moved them to fibre initially. Going forward from there, we're absolutely happy to hear your demands of what products you want to take forward. Obviously, we have discussions with our regulator and other licensed operators around what those products are going to be. So I think Tim said that those will be appearing in Q1 and Q2 of next year. But already you can purchase a 100 down, 20 up product. That's not too bad if you look around the world. You can purchase a 1 gig down, 100 up. Again, pretty fit product at a pretty fit price.
Yeah, Wall, the Channel Islands, Wall, Jersey. Don't worry about your off-island IP, which I realise is expensive for you. Just provide it so that service providers like ourselves can have a synchronous service on island. And yeah.
Again, I think I'm not saying that's an impossible piece, but you've just heard that we're 5,000 connected. 20% of our broadband customers so far in the rural areas. Of course, going forward, I know this is something Mark will have discussed with the team. I'm not discounting this as a way forward, but as we stand, we're not ready to offer that product yet.
You talked about some of the problems you were having around getting access to the ducts, etc. If the ducts are in other people's gardens, for example, and how are you going about solving that? Because I'm personally suffering from that. The fibre is currently 3 meters in my neighbour's garden, and I can't get to it. But I also hear that this is a very frequent problem where you're having trouble getting access to your own ducts.
It is a problem. We have a process that we go through where we're trying to make sure that we can get access to the duct network. I'm aware of your problem, Mark. It's not an infrequent problem, but it is something that we're trying to sort out. It's I say we're trying to sort it out.
Hi, I'm a business owner in Georgetown, and I believe that we're going to be one of the last places that's connected to fibre. We've noticed a definite degradation of our copper service in the last 2 years. I just wondered if you could explain that to me, please.
Realistically, as we lift customers off fibre, what should improve is your copper service, because historically your ADSL type service runs signal to noise. So the more customers I can lift off, you'd expect you get a better service. So what I suggest is you contact us and we look at your line, we look at your profile, and we look at the copper that you're carried on.
Don't you think we've done that already?
I've no idea, but I mean, we're happy to look with you at that, of course.
I'm speaking at a conference in Rome in 2 weeks' time with people like NVIDIA. Most of the people are interested in graphical remoting protocols. If I wanted to sort of sell Jersey to those people, how would I picture the fact that what they're interested in is having businesses that have high-end connectivity to the homes? So at the moment, I understand that you're not rolling anything out into St Helier. So let's say if a new startup wants to work in computer gaming, what's the sort of time frame for local business?
I think, as Tim mentioned, we can already deliver high-speed services on fibre anywhere in the island. But if it's a specific broadband-type service or consumer-type service, as you say, we are going to have a period of delay until we get into the town area. But realistically, a lot of our town broadband services are high-speed. They are the ones that are up to 20 meg because they're so close to exchange. People in the room, again, will discuss the upload speeds because the technology over copper is slow, of course. But again, if these guys want a specific product for a specific reason, we can deliver it island-wide.
Right, so that's the answer then. So they should contact you and say, this is, we want to set this up, we want to trial this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can sort of say you may have to locate in this part of St Helier as opposed to that part.
It may have to be a particular type of service, and of course, please get them to contact us. Yeah.
Given that your fibre network is much more efficient in terms of your management of it than the copper network, is that going to enable you to drive down the prices for connectivity, or is that really dictated by the off-island?
Yeah, I mean, we've had this debate many times about pricing, and I think one of the biggest issues for us is volume. And I think that's one of the things that we're keen to work with Digital Jersey to attract new businesses to the island. The more volume that we can get into the island, the more volume that we can provide out into our connectivity into the UK, we can negotiate better rates from BT and such. So hopefully that will drive prices down, and that's our aim. So more volume is the key issue here for us. And I think it's going to take a few years. There's no question about that. I think our current pricing is reasonable. I know Ted's in the room somewhere. He did a quick review on broadband prices across different jurisdictions, and at his strategy day, he said it was good to average to good in terms of our pricing. Now, volume is our key issue here, always will be, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of businesses in the island. But yes, I mean, this is also to drive our costs down. By ripping out the copper, we will eventually get our cost base down, which will hopefully be able to pass that on to our customers.
You're leaving voice-only customers till after 2016. I was wondering why that's the case, because they must be all mixed in to broadband next to voice-only customers. And when do you think the project will finally be finished with every home in the island connected?
We don't know the answer to when all the voice-onlys, but to be honest with you, the demand for the fibre it's there for the broadband users. As we progress, we expect more and more people will be on broadband. We'll see a shift in the base numbers, but right now broadband will be delivered on or before 2016, and at that point then we'll make a decision about how we go around the rest of the island in terms of voice only.
Does that mean copper will have to remain in the network for longer than you expected?
Some of the copper will have to remain, obviously, from the voice-only point of view, obviously. But the copper will be removed when the voice-onlys are complete.
This is purely exciting. I don't understand, because my house could be broadband today and the house next door could be voice. So I don't understand why you're kind of leaving these out. To the non-engineer, it kind of doesn't make sense, if you know what I mean.
Basically it's demand. We have 34,000 customers who will benefit from having faster broadband speeds. So we're dealing with those ones first, and we'll continue with the rest up to the 52,000 properties as the next phase of the program. We haven't planned that yet, but it will be delivered straight after we've delivered the broadband connectivity.
I think, Kirsten, the answer to that is if people who are currently on voice only want broadband, they can get it. They just have to make the demand. So if you move next door and it hasn't got it, you just put the requirement in. We'll have fibre in the road, and we should be able to run it in there. But we're concentrating on broadband customers to start with, to make sure that the ones that actually want it today get it.
I'm guessing that some of these voice-only customers don't particularly want fibre. Yeah. And how are you going to approach those people about the disruption and the fact they've got to have a power socket next to the JT box when actually they don't really want it?
Well, I think it goes with the previous answer, really. For those that don't want it, they don't have to take it at this moment in time. But obviously, as people move houses and the population moves on, people will require fibre to the home, and then obviously the people that want it are going to be a bit more open to take the service. So, I mean, we're working really closely with the customers. This Some of the issues we found in there is obviously power sockets, and we're having to sort of either install power sockets or get the customer to do that. And it's one of those processes that was a bit more difficult than we thought at the first. But I think, we're moving forward, better communicating with customers and letting them know what's involved prior to going into the home. So hopefully they're better informed before we actually turn up.
If I understand it, legacy phones at copper, that they would work even on a power cut. So what happens now with the fibre?
Yeah, historically we provide a battery from the exchange. Obviously those exchange lines are battery backed up on the core. The difference in this model is if you wish to have a battery backed up service, so if you have a push-to-call lifeline type service, we'd obviously supply a battery. If you wish to purchase a battery, if you're not a reliant customer, then of course you could purchase a battery backup. So just clearly to recognise that if you go into most households, they've got a decked handset. You try using that when the power's gone.
No, I understand that. But so for an alarm system, the same issue would come up, yes?
Yes, alarm system, the same thing would come up. You could put a battery backup solution in the unit. Some battery backup units themselves obviously carry battery. So.
In businesses, we often need more than one connection. Are you installing that capacity on the installation date, so there's spare fibre in the building?
What we tend to do is we sort of plan to the nearest joint. But obviously, in your scenario, in a business premise, we're likely to pull extra glass into the premise. Yes, doesn't mean we'll terminate. We'll terminate a single service. And depending what you carry across that service, could be multiple services as well. It very much depends what we're delivering to you. Yeah.
My second question then is, obviously, we have costs of providing our internet service. We do it via ADSL, like most for general browsing. But our real costs are across the island, using the fibre network to our data centres and different things. Is this rollout going to have an effect on those prices?
I think it's back to a previous point around, businesses having a service they can use off island. And I mean, all I can say at this point is that that's in discussion.
My mother is having fibre installed this Friday, 84-year-old non-computer user, but she has a personal alarms to the ambulance. I wonder if you could just clarify, go over that again.
If your mother has a Comcare unit or push-to-call service, we supply a battery unit, and the battery unit we supply is kind of I'll call it Soviet, but it's not. It's kind of a heavy-duty 18-hour uptime to support her phone service only. So when the power was to fail, we'd shut the Ethernet ports but keep her voice connection active.
Alarm box.
Copper to the termination, and then she's probably got a radio, a short piece back to that termination box. Yeah. So yes, yeah, it will act exactly as a landline. In failure, up to 18 hours.
Is there an extra cost to this battery?
Not in your mother's case, no. That's at zero cost.
Maybe I'm going to be vilified a little bit, but we've already got the gigabit broadband service, and it's fantastic. But there we go. Really, what you've talked about gigabit and the rollout and the timescales and the mobile broadband. I'm really trying to future-proof, and I just want to know what's next.
I mean, I'll try and answer from our point of view. Going back to the original theory, we made some early choices around why we were going to use point-to-point. So a single fibre from our exchange to you. That allows us to change the active equipment at each end of that delivery path. So at the moment, we have a 1 gigabit capable service. 1 terabit is being tested, not here, in Japan. So sky's the limit, realistically.
So just going back to your previous points about the distinction you're making between existing broadband users and voice only, is that distinction based on pure customers to JT, or would they also cover customers who are using other broadband providers?
That will cover both. Yeah, we'll work with the other operators. So, in terms of rolling out fibre, they've got a wholesale product from us, and we'll roll it out in exactly the same way.
My property's been connected to fibre over the last few weeks. It was one of those problem properties where you have block guts and block ducts. Sorry, not guts. Maybe that too. But and so on. And it took, I think, 3 or 4 visits. And I would just like to note that whilst the process itself was at times difficult, the individuals who came out were polite and courteous and efficient, in every way exceeded what I would have expected. So thank you for that. What I'd like to ask, if I may, is obviously we lose a little bit of control when we put this in because you configure our routers and so on for us. For those people like me who like to change our DNS servers and set up VPN systems and all the rest of it, when do you see us getting a bit of that control back and being able to either define our own kit or alternatively you're being in a position when we pick up the phone and talk about DNS to speak to somebody who understands what that means, which I realise we can't expect from an ordinary operator.
I mean, thank you for the comments at the start. Good to hear. Yeah, from our point of view, the real it comes almost to some of the cost question. Is some of the changes for us were really stepping into the customer's home and having a managed solution. And as you say, you'll talk to at the moment one of our agents, but we're in sort of a midst of introducing a service management centre, which exactly follows those lines of lifting that resolution up that scale. So very quickly you'll be able to get to a 3rd level, at least CCIP engineer to resolve your problem.